Donald Trump is facing a full-blown mutiny inside the CIA, as CIA agents are livid that Donald Trump is pushing them to lie. They are livid that the Trump regime keeps on firing CIA agents for telling the truth about what's actually happening in Iran, where the United States did not obliterate Iran's nuclear capabilities and where the United States lost the war in Iran. The Trump regime doesn't want that intelligence. And if you dare say the United States faces serious exposure in Iran, or that the United States lost, or that the United States suffered casualties and suffered losses, you will be fired from the CIA. As former top CIA agents are now saying, we never used to even have to worry that we would be undermined for just giving objective facts. Sure, there may be a little pressure here or there, but never for just telling the facts. Now, if you tell the truth, you might end up in Laura Loomer's blog. Now, the CIA leaked their own personal survey within the CIA itself. The Atlantic got a hold of this survey, and this survey shows that the CIA is furious at the Trump regime. But you don't just have to look at that survey, which we will take a look at in a moment. We should also look at the actions by the CIA over the past 48 hours or past week, where they have exposed through leaking and through other means some of the Trump regime's dastardly behavior, as the Trump regime continues to try to escalate in Iran, as Donald Trump continues to fall into the escalatory trap where the casualties are all Americans and, frankly, people throughout the world. Now, one of the reasons that Donald Trump put in his sycophant, Bill Pulte, unlawfully I might add, as the acting director of national intelligence, is that Donald Trump is trying to smoke out this mutiny. Trump is paranoid. He's paranoid not only that he thinks everybody wants to assassinate him, and you have Netanyahu in his ear saying, oh, the Iranians want to assassinate you, Donald. That's why you shouldn't take the Qatari Air Force One. You got to take old Air Force One. By the way, the CIA put out there and they leaked that not a credible threat that Netanyahu was actually saying, but Netanyahu was telling Donald Trump that in order to try to get the United States to escalate more in Iran, which Netanyahu was able to achieve. But Bill Pulte's out there to try to smoke out the people who are telling the truth. Let's go through this piece by piece if we can. And I want to share this with you as well. What else are we learning from members of the intelligence community as Donald Trump is trying to escalate more in Iran? They are showing that Donald Trump, and I think Iran knew this, is all bluff. And we know that about Donald Trump. But take a look at this report. A U.S. Joint Special Operations Command Task Force that reportedly spent more than 3 months deployed in the Middle East, standing by to recover Iran's highly enriched uranium from underground facilities, has now left. According to the High Side, an independent national security outlet founded by veteran journalist Sean Naylor and former U.S. Army Special Forces Green Beret soldier turned journalist Jack Murphy, according to a report, the operation would have involved transporting the recovered uranium to a laboratory in Hanford, Washington, with planning relying in part on Israeli intelligence to identify the uranium's location. The report says some officials believe the mission could cost the lives of an entire squadron of 60 to 90 operators. By late June, however, the operation was viewed as increasingly unlikely, with one former defense contractor saying the deployment had become more of a deterrent force than a diplomatic solution than a practical military option. Although most of the task force reportedly remains in the Persian Gulf region, a special operations official told the outlet that personnel are gradually returning to the United States. So you had that report leak out there about what this group was supposed to do and that there are people returning to the United States. How about this leak to the Wall Street Journal yesterday late afternoon, early evening? The Trump administration believes a nuclear deal with Iran is growing increasingly unlikely. Senior officials told reporters Friday, a rare acknowledgement that one of Trump's core foreign policy goals of capping Tehran's nuclear program might not be achievable through peace talks. And it's believed that this senior official or senior officials are more relating to the United States intelligence community, and they're out there leaking Trump's never going to do a nuclear deal. Iran is never going to allow Donald Trump to do any form of nuclear inspections. There's zero trust there. And that's getting out that Trump has lost. The intelligence community wants the world to know Trump has lost. These officials are saying Iran should release a statement declaring the Strait of Hormuz is open. One of the officials suggested there would be serious consequences. The senior U.S. official said that if Iran can't abide, the comments raised questions about whether Trump is preparing for another major shift in strategy. According to a senior U.S. official, Iranian negotiators claim that the attack on ships this week were a mistake, the work of an errant sect. How about this right here? Some U.S. officials said that they were concerned that Israel shared intelligence about an alleged Iranian plan to assassinate Trump to influence U.S. decision-making toward a return to an all-out war with Iran. So you have the intelligence community now also leaking that the Israeli intelligence to Trump is intended as further escalation, and that there actually isn't a high degree of threat that Iran is going to assassinate Donald Trump, as Donald Trump is putting fencing all around the White House. How about these leaked documents from our intelligence community? Leaked documents are reportedly showing that Russia and China are cooperating much more closely militarily than China publicly admits. Our intelligence community knows Donald Trump looks up to Xi Jinping and Putin. He's a Putin bootlicker and a Xi Jinping bootlicker. They are discussing joint weapons projects, training Russian drone operators in China, sharing battlefield lessons from Ukraine, and developing ways to counter Starlink, including jamming, cyber attacks, or potentially attacking satellites. They are also working on an advanced air missile defense system aimed at U.S.-style hypersonic and ballistic missiles. Russia brings real combat experience from Ukraine. China brings electronics manufacturing and technology. That's getting out there because they're saying, Donald, you really are going to do this escalation in Iran? Let's leak out, number one, that we don't even have the assets there to be able to do that. Let's leak out that there is not going to actually be any nuclear deal and that this is all bluster and bluff. And then let's talk about that the Trump regime has constantly been firing and attacking CIA agents just for telling the truth. I mean, you all know the story, right? About last year, Lieutenant General Jeffrey Cruz, right? Here's an example of it right here of what Trump's doing. Last year, the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Lieutenant Jeffrey Cruz, was fired following a preliminary report that he prepared saying that the airstrikes on Iran back from June 2025 had set back Iran's nuclear capabilities by only a few months, while Trump said they were obliterated. The CIA's assessment then was, in June 2025, strikes were moderately effective, but definitely not total obliteration. They fired that guy. They fired that guy's team. Steve Cash, a veteran intelligence officer, goes, in my time, I don't think anyone was afraid they'd get fired or your name would suddenly make your way to Laura Loomer's blog for basically telling the truth. And then Steve Cash said Trump ran on a platform and ran his first term in a way that made it clear that he saw the intelligence community more like a press and propaganda office. That's fundamentally at odds with why there is an intelligence community in the first place. And then CIA agents are saying Trump is pushing them to lie in this internal report. So in this internal annual CIA survey of its analytic workforce, conducted by the agency's Ombudsman for Analytic Integrity, this is what the main findings were. A significant rise since Donald Trump returned in the number of CIA employees who are concerned that political pressure is detrimentally harming their analysis. Many written responses specifically criticized actions by then Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. That's why Trump is bringing in Bill Pulte, not to do a better job, but to find out who the people are who are complaining. Some of the things that the CIA are talking about: the dismissal of 2 senior career officers after a dispute over an assessment of Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang. The administration reportedly wanted a different conclusion to support deportation policies, to say Tren de Aragua was a terrorist group aimed at destroying the United States. And then Gabbard's revocation of security clearances for dozens of officials, including some tied to the 2016 Russia investigation, without public evidence of wrongdoing. A constant demand that CIA agents lie about their intelligence, that the CIA function basically as a PR office for Donald Trump, and firing CIA agents who refuse to go along with Trump's propaganda that Iran's navy has been destroyed and everything's destroyed and that America absolutely won. You give Donald Trump accurate data, you get fired. And so the CIA is getting out there. America's losing. They're getting out there all, the facts about Netanyahu. They're getting out there the information about Donald Trump coming up with fake assassination attempts. They're getting out there information that there isn't going to be a nuclear deal, that Trump's incapable of doing, and we should have stuck with the JCPOA. They're getting out there this data that America has moved a lot of its forces out of the region who would be doing uranium extraction and things like that. And, in order to demonstrate that, that any escalation right now would be absolutely devastating. So there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching. Wow.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.